Hi everyone, my name is Mehar Sindhu Batra and I'm back with another video. On popular demand, today's video is going to be all about the ACCA course, that is the ACCA course from the UK, and I'm going to give you an overview of the course as well as interview one of my friends here from London who is a qualified ACCA working and living here in the UK, and I'm going to ensure that he answers all the questions that you all sent to me. So please don't forget to subscribe to this channel and share and like this video in case you find it useful. For those of you here for the first time, I'm a chartered accountant from India and an MBA from Imperial College London, and I make videos on all topics related to careers, productivity and positivity in order for you to accelerate your career and make a greater meaningful impact both professionally as well as personally. So let's dive into what today's video is all about. The ACCA stands for the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants. It is an association which is more than 100 years old and has more than 200,000 or 2 lakh members globally. The course is made up of 3 components. The first component is the exams, which is a maximum of 13 papers that you have to take in case you have just finished with your high school, that is you are a 12th grade pass student. The next component is the ethics and professional skills module, and the third component is the 3 years training or the 3 years articleship, just like in the Indian CA course. One of the biggest advantages of the ACCA course is that it is a globally recognized degree. However, even though it is a UK degree, it does not guarantee that you will immediately get a job in the UK or anywhere in the world. You will still need a company to sponsor your visa for you to be able to work in that particular country. Whether it's Canada, Australia or the UK, the ACCA does not guarantee any jobs for you. That is something you have to do yourself and make sure you get a visa. While researching for the ACCA course, I found out that there are many other advantages of the ACCA degree. One of them is the flexibility. Because of this flexibility, you can also take individual papers at a time. But I'm sure that my friend Vishruth will be able to explain it to you in a much easier way. So let's dive into the second part of this video, which is the interview. So now we come to the second part of this video where I invite my friend Vishruth, who is an ACCA with significant amount of work experience, and he works currently here in the UK. So please welcome Vishruth. Hi Vishruth.
Hi Mayor. Hello everyone. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for joining us. And before we begin with all the questions that people wanted to ask you, could you please give us your background and your story till date?
Alright, so I'm from Abu Dhabi. I've done my college in India along with my Indian Chartered Accountancy. Once I got done with my IPCC, I was doing my articleship with KPMG Pune. And at the same time, I was sort of giving my bachelor finals as well. Once I got done with my college, I went back to my home country and I joined the KPMG Abu Dhabi under an ACCA contract because Indian CA was not being supported over there in terms of articleship, which is what is required to sort of complete your membership, right? So I got credits of around 4 papers in ACCA. I had to give around 10 papers over 3 years, and while I was working, I simultaneously gave my papers as well.
That's amazing. So when did you qualify as an ACCA?
So I qualified in 2014, January, but since I'd accumulated enough articleship experience, I didn't have to work another 3 years just to gain my membership. I was immediately applied for membership and I got it.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
And after qualifying as an ACCA, what did you do after that?
I'm still working with KPMG, and I was lucky enough to get a secondment to KPMG London, where I'm working with absolutely no problem over my qualifications.
Great. So are you in the statutory audit department here in the UK?
I work for the external audit department in financial services.
Wonderful. The next part of the video is going to be all the questions that all of you asked me and sent to me. Thank you so much for that. So do you mind answering all the questions that our viewers have for you?
Of course.
Okay. So the first question is, could you give details of the course? Like what are the number of exams and how is the curriculum different from the CA course? And what are the advantages of someone who is a CA student? Would they have exemptions or what is the process?
So the ACCA course previously had 14 papers. Now they have 13 with 2 optional exams. The most important point about ACCA is the flexibility around giving the papers. I think that's the biggest advantage. You can give one paper at a time. If people who are not comfortable with giving 8 papers, just like an Indian CA, you can give it around 4 attempts in a year. Every quarter there's a exam window, so it becomes very easy to prepare while you're working at the same time. And you can give up to a maximum 4 papers if you want to complete it quickly. In any given stretch, you can complete it within 2 years.
Wow.
So that's a very big advantage. However, I would say with ACCAs, a lot of people underestimate how easy these exams can be. Yes, I'm studying for one subject at a time. However, these papers usually generally have 2 questions, which are 60 markers and 40 markers. I mean, it can get you to fail if you screw up one question.
So what you're saying is, when it comes to the difficulty of the exams, they're mostly the same.
Right.
And since you said one question could be a 60 marker question, so the students really have to make sure that they're not messing up anything in the answer.
Yeah. Now the ACCA has moved towards more MCQs than essay style questions. So the first 60% or the first 50% of the question paper is MCQs. Again, we don't have negative marking, but MCQs are not very easy. That's a straight 1 mark gone off your paper. However, if there was an essay style question, you can still explain your way. And UK system of marking is quite good because they look at your approach before they judge your answer. So if you have an incorrect answer in the end, they still look at all your steps in the process and then they give you marks accordingly.
So it's step marking and not just...
It's not fixed to a particular marking scheme.
Okay.
It's flexible depending on the evaluator if he understands the way you've arrived to the result.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. Moving on to the next question. What do you think is the demand of ACCAs in India and UK? Is it easy as an ACCA student to get a job here in the UK versus India?
Well, in India, it's getting a lot of recognition now because a lot of people are doing ACCA than Indian CA. In terms of getting a job, there's nothing like, okay, if you've done an ACCA, then you get a job immediately in UK or in India. I think if you follow the process, that is, you do an articleship in a Big 4 and then land yourself a job, that's how it is.
So basically what you're suggesting is that you have to have a brand name on your CV during your articleship or your training.
Right. So for example, if your intention is to stay in India, then it makes more sense to do an Indian CA because that's the more recognized degree in India. And a lot of the auditing companies will recognize you for the articleship you've done in whichever qualification. But if you want to grow in an auditing firm, then they'll definitely look at your credentials in the sense that if you have an Indian CA, then you're allowed to sign a lot of documents, whereas you're in ACCA, I don't think you're allowed to sign.
You're not allowed, yeah.
So, I mean, that depends on the person who's giving the exams. If your main intention is just to get qualified, then it doesn't matter which qualification degree you use in my experience.
I've actually watched a lot of YouTube videos on ACCA. And I feel like they sort of misguide students saying that if you have an ACCA UK degree, you can easily get a job in the UK. That's not the case. You'll still have to apply for a visa. You'll still have to have a company to sponsor your visa. It's not that if you have a degree, you'll easily get a job in the UK. That's not how it works. So I guess that's a bit of a gamble, right? Like if you do ACCA UK, it doesn't guarantee a job in UK or anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, it works with any qualification. If you do a CPA, CFA, anything, it doesn't really matter. I think it all comes down to your work experience, where you have worked, which positions you've worked at, and then that sort of influences where you get a job. And obviously, if you have to get a job in UK, then there's a huge visa process that one has to go through before someone gets a job. So it's not a guarantee if you do a UK degree, then you will definitely get a UK job. I know a lot of Indians with Indian CA who have jobs in the UK, so it doesn't really make a difference.
So I think you've sort of answered this question, which was, is ACCA necessary for UK or Indian CA is fine? But like you said, if you want to be a signing partner in the UK, you need to have an ACCA degree. Similarly, if you want to be a signing partner in India, you have to have an Indian CA degree.
At the end of the day, it all depends on what your objective is. If you want to go long in an auditing firm or a consulting firm, then you need that relevant country's degree in order to sign off opinions. But that is if you want to become a partner. There are a lot of people who do not want to become a partner and stay as directors or senior managers. It just depends on one's choice.
What about the package? Which course do you think pays more, a CA or an ACCA in India as well as the UK?
So in India, I think if you're working as a chartered accountant in a Big 4 or in a consulting firm, I think the packages are the same. There should be no discrimination on the fact that you've done an Indian CA or an ACCA. But obviously, there are definitely some factors like taken into consideration when you're working in an Indian company and when you're working in a UK company. But I think the world is sort of maturing in terms of how qualifications don't usually play a major part. It just depends on your wealth of experience that you bring to the table. So the packages are usually the same if you're working for a big four company, but obviously for industry you can't say the same. It just depends on what job do you get in the industry.
So what kind of jobs can an ACCA get?
So it's mostly to do with finance. If you're in audit, either financial controller, financial analyst. If you're working in tax, then you're obviously working in a tax department. And consulting, it could be multiple fields that you could sort of put your hands in. Internal audit is also another place that a lot of auditors are getting jobs in right now.
Which countries recognize ACCA?
So ACCA is a very global chartered accountancy degree, but it has a lot of benefits and a lot of tie-ups with different countries. For example, if you want to work in Canada, so KPMG Canada or like PwC Canada, then obviously they would prefer their own Canadian CA. However, ACCAs do have a tie-up with the Canada CA organization where you don't have to give any paper and you can just get their degree if you have the number of years of experience. Similarly with Australia, a lot of the employees over there do support Australian CPA, which you can get over the counter once you have an ACCA degree. But if you have an Indian CA degree, I don't think they have tie-ups with all these organizations. You do have to give extra papers to get that qualification if you want to move outside India and settle down in these places. So, but ACCA is pretty global.
I think that sort of ties in with this question is that any papers that are exempt for a CA student to do ACCA. For example, I think in your story also and for me, if I'm a qualified chartered accountant and if tomorrow I want to do an ACCA, I'll only have to give 4 papers instead of the total of 13. And similarly, like you said, for you, how many papers did you have to give?
So when I left Indian CA, I had completed IPCC. ACCA does take that into consideration when you're applying for their degree. They ask you if you have any prior exams that you've given, apart from the 12th standard or college. They factor that in and then they see how many papers you should be giving. In my time, they gave me 4 exemptions out of 14 papers. Your college does play a big role in terms of exemptions. ACCA does factor like a lot of these things when they decide how many papers that you have to give or not.
So I think with each degree, you get certain number of exemptions or certain number of credits. I will put a link down below where you can check out what number of exemptions you can get based on your degree. But as we know, after 12th grade, you're supposed to give 13 papers.
Right.
And after that, whatever number of degrees you accumulate, you will keep getting credits for those degrees, which I think is really helpful for students who are studying so much and so hard, and whatever they've studied is not ignored completely.
Right. Another advantage that after 12th standard, you can start your ACCA qualification, just like the Indian CA. You don't have to give a college degree. And there is a provision in the ACCA curriculum. It's a thesis. It's called the Oxford Brookes Universities. These are for the people who can't attend college. So they have to just write a thesis and they get a diploma from the Oxford Brookes University in London. So that's pretty helpful as well. And ACCA does have a lot of tie-ups into a lot of master's programs in London as well. So in case someone wants to not just stop at CA and go on and do an MBA or in business or in finance, then they can use ACCA as well to get admission to these colleges.
That's really amazing. So someone who is just a high school graduate and is 17 or 18 years old, they would probably be done with ACCA by the time they're 20, 21?
Yes, and fully qualified and member, and within 5 years you can be a fellow member as well.
Great. And what about the training, the number of years of training? Because Articleship in India is 3 years.
Right. So it's the same with ACCA. I think 36 months of Articleship experience is required, and it needs to be signed off by a ACCA member as well. In terms of training requirements, it's exactly the same as Indian CA.
So you did your training at KPMG Abu Dhabi?
So I did 1 year of training in KPMG Pune. That sort of counted towards the Indian CA. However, since I worked for 5.5 years in Abu Dhabi, it sort of counted towards the ACCA as well.
So they merged all your experience together to count it as training?
No, so basically form specifically asks how many years you've been under an ACCA member. That's a qualifying criteria. If your firm is tied up with ACCA, then it's good. A lot of these firms are tying up with ACCA directly. So if you've worked in the firm, then technically you've worked under a membership firm.
Great. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about the format of the ACCA exams? You have to take all of them together, or did you take all of them one at a time?
I'm someone who doesn't like giving exams, so Indian CA was a nightmare for me. I mean, I didn't know about ACCA. It was my parents who just dropped me into the course, and then that's how I realized that you can give one paper at a time. When you start giving these papers, you sort of build confidence. So in a year and a half, I completed ACCA. I was giving 4 papers in a go.
So you gave 4 papers?
Yeah, in one of the attempts, because a lot of this curriculum is covered in Indian CA, all sort of the same subjects. So you have financial management, costing, law, accountancy. So Indian CA or ACCA, the curriculum is still the same. It's sort of a repeat revision. Then it becomes easier for you to sort of give 2-3 papers at once in ACCA, and there's a lot of flexibility. And the papers, like I said, it's more practical. All their questions are based on real life problems that are currently going on in the world. So it's not something that's directly from the book. I can assure you can never find a question in the question paper that comes directly from the question bank. So it's more about your application than just memorizing the question bank itself.
So the last question I want to ask you, are you happy with your degree and what are your plans for the future?
Yeah, it's helped me a lot. I've sort of studied another degree after that as well, and currently I'm not pursuing anything, but I'm really happy with 2 qualifications.
And you want to continue in audit at KPMG London, or?
That's still something I don't know yet. I'm someone who likes different things every year, something a year. I don't know, it just depends. I think a Big 4 is very good for someone like me. Since I don't know what I want, I can just basically do anything in a Big 4.
And you can change your department.
I can change my department. I mean, obviously it depends if there's availability. But yeah, I think it's a great place for me to be in.
Great. Thank you so much, Vishruth, for joining us. Really helpful. Thank you everyone for watching this video. If you have any more questions, please leave a comment down below and I'll make sure he replies to all the questions and gets back to you.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me here.
Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and connect with me on MSB Vision or any other social media channels. I'll be back soon with another video, but until then, stay curious and open about the various career options available for you in the world today. I hope to see you soon. Bye.